bad news for Israel. How do we protect against, great Israeli scientists coming to the United States? I don't have the answers today. I would just like to leave you with this, because some of these threats, because I think it's important to understand them. A second threat I've mentioned before is the Office of Chief Scientist. These are the most important shekels or dollars that are spent in Israel. And for if everyone in this room is familiar with the Office of Chief Scientist and says to their peers and says, do you know about the Office of Chief Scientist? And start promoting that and discussing that, that will hopefully help grow the budget of the Office of Chief Scientist. So that to me is threat number 2. Let's see. Threats do I want to discuss on other threats? Brain drain is not related to just the scientists. Brain drain is related to also entrepreneurs, and this is where I'm speaking from very much a capitalist point of view. And entrepreneurs, they're capitalists as well. I have a guy I know who was a Russian, one of the Russian scientists, 750,000 Russian scientists who came over, started a company, sold the company for $100 million. He walked away after taxes with about $15 million. And what he basically said was, well, if I'm going to walk away, and his take was about $30 million. So the government, it was an uncle, I don't know what you call it in Israel. I've always asked David, what do you call the government? I call the United States uncle, but I don't know what you call it short. But the government in Israel took 50%. And what he decided to do, he said, look, if I'm going to lose 50% on my next deal, I'm going to go somewhere else to live. And this guy picked up and he moved to Provence in France. And he set up a company in Sofia, which is a town there's a lot of technology and a lot of scientists in France. And there was a great Israeli entrepreneur that was lost to Israel. The final threat is something that is discussed often in the political and in the geopolitics and in the social areas of Israel, and that is the wealth disparity. That people say, well, the technology ecosystem isn't a great thing because it's created this tremendous wealth disparity. And I have entrepreneurs who complain to me and say, David, geez, I pay 50% taxes, so I make $150,000 a year or $200,000 a year, and the Orthodox or the ultra-Orthodox, they get $200 a kid per month. Something's wrong there. Why should I be supporting them? And the Orthodox turn around and say, well, if we weren't praying for you, you wouldn't be making $150,000 to $200,000 a year, which is a fair response from the ultra-Orthodox. But the real question is not wealth disparity in Israel. The real question is wealth disparity in the world. Is there anywhere else? Is there a place in the world where there is not wealth disparity? We now have an information economy. And I would say that the wealth disparity in Israel is not as bad as places, obviously, as Russia, as China, as India. Probably not as bad as the United States, the wealth disparity. So a lot of discussion goes on the wealth disparity. Somehow Israel has to overcome that feeling that wealth disparity is a problem. It is not a problem. It is a function of a thriving information-aged or an information or a technology-based ecosystem. So those are the threats that I see. I think, am I close to time, Jeff? Okay. I really would like to, any questions I can answer? Yes. Yes. You pay. Fortunately, we pay American capital gains taxes, so we're very lucky on that. If you, I invest obviously in Israel as a United States-based fund, and I pay American taxes on that. So that is fortunate. As long as you don't have an operation or you're not sort of, say, full-time in Israel, then you can, and most of the guys, we're in the United States. So you get paid on the U.S. tax rate. Any other question?
Comment on the strength of the dollar. The cost of investments as I just came back and
Yeah.
wanted to say investments down because it's 20% more expensive now to invest there.
My answer to that is currency. If you follow currency over the past 20 years, the dollar is going to strengthen at some time. The dollar is not going to go through the bottom. At some point, the dollar is going to strengthen, and remember 6 years ago when the dollar, was 50% above the euro. Okay, if you want to be a currency trader, that's a dangerous game to play. So, is it a problem? Yes, it's a problem for me because my dollars don't go as far as they did 3 years ago. But because of that, has it stopped me from investing in Israel? No, because we now we say, let's focus our attention on Europe and sell our products into Europe and get euros. And again, to focus attention on Europe, Europe is 340 million people versus an economy in the United States of 300 million people. So we shift our strategy. So currency fluctuations are something I'm a long-term investor. As a venture capitalist, by definition, you invest long-term and long cycles. So it's not something I worry about. Any other question? There was? Yes?
What has been your experience with liquidity of this company that you invest?
Well, I invest in private companies, obviously, so liquidity, there's no such thing as liquidity in the first couple of years. Okay? So that's why I say I'm a long-term investor. The goal of a technology venture is to grow it to a certain size where you can take it public or you can sell it or you run it for its profits. Experience is so far is very good. We have two companies that we have two companies that we will be taking public this year, even in a difficult market. We've had offers for our companies to be purchased, not at prices of 1999 or 2000. But one of the problems is people think 1999 was reality. 1999 is not reality in the 60-year-old history of venture capital, and so we recognize that. And fortunately, the good news is that corporations have a lot of cash on their balance sheets. Okay, corporations have cut out R&D, and the world is changing. Such that the way the world is changing now is that, let's take a look at the pharmaceutical industry. Pfizer, Glaxo, they don't do any R&D. They're purely distributors. And what do? They buy small companies. When you get through phase two, if you get to a certain point where you can demonstrate, and you get bought. So there's good liquidity out there. The question is how big is the return? And I would say the returns are not 99 type of returns, but also you're not putting in the dollars you did in 1999. So instead of putting in $40 million in a company and hoping to get 10x, you put $10 million in and hope to get 10x your return. But because of the good thing, though, is the corporate balance sheets are so strong and there's so much cash on the corporations that they will acquire, and they do acquire. So I believe the outlook for private companies, in Israel, is very obvious. I do, because I keep investing there. Any other questions, or I'm done?